How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we gotta talk about Grandmaster Jay from the NFAC, the Not Effing Around Coalition. I've done quite a few videos about these guys. They were out there in Stone Mountain protesting the rock, that the statue with the carving on it, and they were also out there in Louisville, Kentucky, so-called protesting, firing the guns by accident, almost shooting each other, running and dropping magazines on the ground. A really sloppy ragtag group of guys, kind of a black extremist group. Some of the guys may not be extremists, but some of them are. And the ringleader behind the whole situation, Grandmaster Jay, got locked up by the federales for pointing his gun, quote unquote, allegedly, at FBI officers, local police officers in Louisville, Kentucky, and also Secret Service agents. So he might go to the penitentiary for quite a long time. I'm talking about big rocks, little rocks, for at least 20 years. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the news clip. In this clip, you'll see what I was talking about. You'll see some picture evidence after we get done watching that. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Alan, this man might look familiar to you. He's known as Grandmaster Jay, the leader of the NFAC militia group, but his real name is John Fitzgerald Johnson. Johnson and his group marched in Louisville twice this summer amid protests over the police killing of Breonna Taylor. The militia was last here on Derby weekend demonstrating outside of Churchill Downs, but Johnson's charges stem from the night before the Kentucky Derby. The FBI says these photos show Johnson pointing his AR platform rifle at several police officers on the roof of a building. Those officers were from the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, and LMPD. This happened near Jefferson Square Park. Law enforcement officers were stationed on rooftops downtown most nights of the protests. Johnson is now facing a charge of assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers. The maximum sentence is up to 20 years in federal prison. Johnson is currently being held at the Oldham County Jail. And in a news release, U.S. Attorney Russell Coleman said Kentucky reveres First and Second Amendment freedoms, not foolishness, which puts police and protesters at risk.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I'm surprised it took this long to arrest this guy or to arrest somebody from the organization. Now, first and foremost, I support, number one, freedom of speech. Number two, right to bear arms, okay? In that order, because First Amendment, Second Amendment, it was written that way for a particular reason, okay? You have the right to the freedom of speech and expression, and it's backed up by the right to bear arms, all right? I support that 100%, and that's it. However, you have the right to bear arms, but not the right to brandish a weapon at police officers. You don't have the right to just be handling your arms dangerously. I mean, these NFAC guys, they're out there so-called protesting. And I think there was at least 2 incidents in 2 different so-called protests. I think it was the one in Louisville where they shot their gun off by accident, and it may have been in Stone Mountain. They had accidental discharges. I'm like, okay, if you want to have your guns and you want to be, practicing Second Amendment rights, how about not shooting your gun off accidentally? How about not putting your own friends and whatnot in danger? And then when they were out there in Stone Mountain, I think they were having heat exhaustion. Guys are passing out because they had all black on in Georgia and like in the Atlanta metro area. And it was like June, July, 100 degrees, humid. It's like, what do you guys do? You have all black, long sleeve, like coats on. You're dressed like winter soldiers, Captain America, 1958. And it's 2020 and it's 115 degrees in the shade with 1000% humidity. What are you thinking about? These guys are not very responsible. And then beyond that, they want to be out there talking about, oh, we're pro-black and we are against racism and we want to do the best thing for the black community. Meanwhile, you're out there protesting The Rock, literally in Stone Mountain, because it has Confederate generals on it. I don't know, Stonewall Jackson, whoever these guys were on the thing. I don't even really care. Nobody really knows. It's not really a big deal. They're out there protesting The Rock. Meanwhile, a few days prior, a little girl, Sequoia Turner, 8 years old, got shot, killed by some BLM so-called protesters. Not by the same guys that were out there in Stone Mountain, don't get that twisted, but by BLM so-called protesters. So if you want to protest in favor of black people and against any kind of violence against us, why don't you go into zone 3, zone 6, ATL proper, rather than way out there and way out east. I don't know if you DeKalb, Gwinnett, I don't even know where you at, but you way out there in the boonies at a park protesting Iraq. Okay. So like I said, I support the freedom of speech. I support the Second Amendment. However, these guys are kind of a group of numbnuts, not really doing a lot to help anything. Okay. If anything, they're endangering more than what they're helping. And a guy, Grandmaster Jay, and by the way, his name is John Johnson. Talk about original and creative, but I digress. This guy, 57 years old, is giving gun lessons in his apartment in Atlanta. That's super dangerous. It's like, okay, if you're giving a gun lesson, you got loaded weapons. Maybe you might want to go outside. Maybe you might want to go to a gun range or something like that rather than your apartment, because we know how these NFAC guys are. They like to shoot the guns off, quote unquote, accidentally. And I don't know if it was Grandmaster Jay or who it was, but somebody was like dual wielding rifles. I'm talking about they had them in their hands like it was one shotgun, but it was rifles side by side, like two of them just like this. It was really weird. But anyway, these guys are really kind of protesting the wrong thing. They're barking up the wrong tree, in my humble opinion. And as far as the arrest by the FBI, like I said, I'm surprised that it took this long, because I'm sure there's plenty of guys in that group that should not be having guns. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you've had accidental discharges and some weird little dust ups. So I'm surprised it took this long. And I'm hearing that he got released. I'm not sure if that's true or false, but Grandmaster Jay got arrested and allegedly got released. Now he could still be in custody, but if he got released, and the question is why. When the FBI comes and they arrest you, when the federales come and swoop you up, it's over, really. They already got the case. They got pictures. They got all of that. All they're going to do is sit you down in the room and say, hey, is this you? Matter of fact, it's a rhetorical question because they already know who it is. They know it's you. They've done their due diligence, but it's like, okay, this is you right here in this picture. You have your gun. You're pointing it at us. Here's all the officers that were there on the roof that day. They're going to testify against you. So you're pretty much toast. All you could do right now, Mr. John Johnson, is snitch on some of your NFAC guys. Who in that group has any kind of prior record, or is a felon that shouldn't own guns, or is an illegal alien, coming from the islands or Africa or something like that? Who is an illegal alien in your group? Okay, how many of them have ties to other extremist organizations? What is your actual goal here? What do you got going on in your background that we should know about, that we don't know about yet, that we've not told you yet? If you come forward right now and tell us, it'd be easier on you rather than going through the trial process and having to get discovered and then you get hit with a bunch of more time. We're trying to make it easier on you. So rather than getting 20 years in the penitentiary, when you're almost 60, you're probably going to die in the penitentiary. You could just tell and then give us what we want to know. Who knows? This guy could become an FBI informant. I wouldn't be surprised. When you see groups like this, NFAC, as I close, that kind of open-ended, kind of ragtag, when you got guys dropping magazines on the ground, shooting the guns off accidentally, I'm like, all right, it's not a very good vetting process here, because with other little groups you see across the nation, you don't see all this haphazard kind of, amateur hour type stuff going on. So that lets me know that they got pretty much anybody in there. Guys from other groups who just come in there, pop in whenever, BLM and everything. People they say they're not BLM, but they got BLM guys in there. So it's like, how does that really work? But I'll move on. It's easy to infiltrate that kind of group and have a mole or a snitch and then expose it, and it's pretty much a wrap. And I'll be really interested to see how this whole thing plays out, because there was a video clip of Grandmaster Jay, and there was somebody else talking to him, talking about, well, guys want to be involved now because there's money involved. People are getting paid. And Grandmaster Jay was like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. I wonder if he was asked by the FBI about that, about the possibility of these guys getting paid from an outside source. And then my question would be, who is the outside source? Who would that actually be? Is it an individual person? Is it a company? Is it several people, several companies? I don't know what's going on, but whatever the case may be, I think you're going to see the end of this NFAC group. And I hope so. I hope that you have these extremist groups, I don't care if they're black, white, Puerto Rican, candy stripe, get out of here. We don't need the extremism. All we need is to defend ourselves as Americans. But if you want to go shooting your gun off by accident, quote unquote, pointing your gun at the Secret Service, I mean, if you got that going on, then like I said, you're going to be in Gitmo, 20-year federale time, big rocks, little rocks. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that the NFAC guys are going to have more arrests that come as a result of Grandmaster Jay getting locked up? Because he was the leader. So what about some of the underlings? What about some guys that you don't really hear about that it probably should be arrested as well? Do you think he is a snitch? Do you think that the FBI came in there and said, hey, you know what? We can give you the rest of your life in jail. You're almost 60 right now. We're going to give you 20 years minimum in the federale joint. So you can do that or you can snitch. You know, whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments. Do you think it's a race-based thing? I saw that go on. Oh, it's race-based. They got him because he's black. Nah, they got him because he's pointing his gun at officers, okay? That's not anything you can really do. They're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. Last I checked, Kyle Rittenhouse did not point his gun at any officer. Kyle Rittenhouse defended himself. Like I said, I support the First Amendment, freedom of speech, Second Amendment, right to bear arms. I support that 100%, all right? However, just because you have, open carry in certain states, that does not mean open brandish. All right. Open carry does not mean I get to carry it like this and pointed at you. That's not how that works. That just means I get to carry it on my body, not brandish it at somebody. Now, you definitely cannot brandish a weapon, especially not at federal officers. You just can't do it. If you do something like that, this is going to be the result. The race thing is not even a problem. But whatever your thoughts are on the situation, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.